But first, Kevin Rudd. What a menace to free speech. And what a bizarre obsessive. I mean, hello, Kevin. Kevin, I'm sure you're watching because after all, I've just read this massive report today into Sky News by the Australian Communications and Media Authority, which is the policeman of television. It's an investigation into no fewer than 80 complaints that Rudd put in about Rowan Dean here at Sky News, into Rowan's Ice Age watch on outsiders, particularly that takes the mickey out of global warming alarmists, which includes alarmists like Kevin Rudd himself, our former Prime Minister.
Climate change is the great moral challenge of our generation.
Yes, Kevin Rudd, now our ambassador in the United States, actually lodged 80 complaints against Rowan alone to ACMA, which foolishly allowed itself to be used as a vehicle for Rudd's vindictive crusade. It's punishment by process, of course, because, it costs Sky News an arm and a leg to have to defend itself against 80 charges. Seriously. Oh, and it also costs you, by the way, because the guy who actually submitted Rudd's complaints to ACMA, and I presume helped Rudd draw them up, research them, whatever, was this guy, Jared Owens, listed on LinkedIn as an advisor to Rudd and paid for by you, the taxpayer. So we got 80 complaints against Rowan and his Ice Age watch and other segments on outsiders. So what happened to them all? Well, ACMA, in fact, rejected the vast majority of them. Rudd had just wasted their time and our money. It rejected 72 of those 80 complaints and upheld of 8. And Rowan's critics will say, well, 8 mistakes, naughty, naughty. Well, steady on, because 3 of those were duplicates, the same supposed error made twice. So Rowan actually got 5 things wrong from the 80 complaints. And all right, 5 things wrong, that's terrible. And of course, none of us do want to make any mistakes. But I looked at those 5 mistakes and then realized, seriously? Really? Is this why the broadcasting policeman of this country has wasted months of its time on a 20,000-word report on Rudd's 80 complaints? Is this why we've had to pay God knows what to lawyers to defend? And by the way, point out, not a single other person in the country complained. It was just Rudd, who's actually, and this is background you need to know, been a hater of the Murdoch media and actually led a group demanding a royal commission into us to sort of, I guess, shut us up. He's obsessed. I reckon because he blames us for his sacking as Prime Minister, which was actually by his own party because he was so hopeless, as you know. Anyway, I'll give you just 2 examples of those 5 terrible mistakes that Rowan Dean supposedly made here on Sky News that justify this extraordinary witch hunt and these 20,000 words. First, Rowan said, ice cores taken from the Vostok station in Antarctica showed something that in fact I once put to climate catastrophist Al Gore, that in the past we've actually seen the planet warm before carbon dioxide increased, not the other way around. And when you look at Gore's An Inconvenient Truth, he uses this graphic, you see the same thing. And Rowan said this showed carbon dioxide isn't causing warming. Bzzzt, wrong, says ACMA. Mistake there. I mean, sure, it acknowledged that some scientists did indeed say what Rowan did, that these ice cores destroy the global warming theory. It wasn't carbon dioxide rises and then temperature does, but the other way around, at least in the past, not necessarily now. Said that was true, but Rowan should have said that other scientists didn't. He should have distinguished between the facts and his own commentary so the audience could tell the difference. I mean, big mistake. I mean, seriously. How about the other example? And I could go through all 5. Rowan also said, a year and a half ago, hey, guess what? The Great Barrier Reef has got record coral cover. And that isn't what global warming scaremongers have been predicting at all. I mean, Kevin Rudd, back when he was trying to become Prime Minister, actually beat up that Barrier Reef scare when he said, climate change is a challenge for the nation, it's a challenge for the planet, and it's a challenge for the Great Barrier Reef. Yet here was Rowan saying, well, ha, 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 record coral cover. How about that? So no wonder Rudd was furious. And now ACMA, the TV police, says, well, Rowan, mate, you were wrong, because that report you quoted in 2021 didn't actually say the coral had set a record. There had, in fact, been more coral about 40 years ago. I mean, whoopee-doo. And besides, said the policeman, the observed recovery of the reef over a few years has been seen previously and can be reversed in a short amount of time. This was important. I mean, you know, don't point to this record coral cover because it might not be tomorrow. Well, look, if only Rowan had waited another year. Because guess what? And this isn't mentioned in the ACMA report. The Australian Institute of Marine Science had to admit, well, good heavens, we do in fact now have the highest coral cover over most of the reef, in fact the most overall, since records started to be kept 36 years ago. There is that record coral cover, which actually confirms Rowan's argument all along that global warming was grossly exaggerated, isn't working out as predicted, and one of the worst panic merchants, of course, has been Kevin Rudd. And shame now on ACMA for letting Kevin Rudd use that authority for his vendetta against us for pointing this out. Yeah, ACMA should have said, buzz off, this is just vexatious what you're doing. What a chilling effect this has had on free speech in this country. Is that really what ACMA is for?